Yeah. Oh, hey, good morning. Yeah. Woke up feeling heavy, but I'm still gon' rise. Dreams in my head still bigger than my lies. A lot of people doubt when they don't see the signs, but every rough night just sharpens my mind. I've been fighting demons in the trust and in life, tryna stack wins, tryna get shit right. And I know one thing, when the world gets tight, pressure makes diamonds if you hold on twice. Sun coming up and it feels alright. Pain in my past made a future bright. Hard days here, but I still don't hide. I just pray for strength and the will to climb. Just a good morning to the ones still hurting, tryna make a life out of faith and purpose. We been down bad, yeah, we feel it uncertain, but we rise each day cause we know we're worth it. Good morning, crypto, waves keep turning. Charts go red, but the spirit stays burning. We don't give up, we just keep on learning. Some voices and the whole world's learning. I done lost too much just to fall right now. Had to build myself from the lost and found. Turn the pain to a plan, turn the fear to sound. Put my heart in a beat and it all breaks out. Life moves quick, gotta catch that breath. Gotta love myself like I love success. Future so bright when you clean that mess. Every setback just press progress. I know some days feel like they hollow, but keep your hope, there's a better tomorrow. The lows they go, but the strength gon' follow, yeah, yeah. Good morning to the broken and healing. New day hits with a brand new meaning. Wipe those tears, yeah, your heart's still beating. You deserve joy that you've been seeking. Good morning, crypto's heart still breathing. Stacks feel light, but the face stays leading. Keep on climbing, keep believing. Sunrise comes for the ones still reaching. We rise again. Yeah. New day, new strength.
Step 1, wake up early, go rise the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
It does now. There we go. Good morning, and welcome to Good Morning Crypto, where we turn your early hours in the morning into your edge and financial freedom. Sorry about that. Every once in a while, my mic decides that even though it was working before the stream, as soon as I go live, it doesn't want to work anymore. So glad I caught that nice and early so we didn't go through that awkward silent phase. But we're seeing a little bit going on in the market this morning. We've got a little bit of green, a little bit of red. We've also got some news to go over. We saw the French Prime Minister going over to China, and then he came back and said, you know what, maybe Trump has something right up his sleeve, and he started talking about tariffs on China. So we will get to that news article in just a second. We got some things to go over with the Fed as well. So before we get to all of that, though, let's dive on in. Get you prepped for some success today, because we are seeing some movements. We've got the stock market looking a little bit to the downside this morning. We've got Apple down 0.28%, Nvidia sitting up just a smidge, up 0.15. We got Berkshire Hathaway down 0.51, Amazon sitting a little bit in the green, up 0.3. We've got Eli Lilly up 0.26, ExxonMobil down 0.08. We've got Tesla down 1.41% this morning. P&G also sitting in the red, was down quite a bit more earlier, but just sitting down 0.01% right now. We've got Microsoft up 0.1, was sitting in the red earlier as well. We've got Google down 0.5 and Meta sitting down 0.19. Hopping over to the crypto side of things, very, very different over here on the daily, but we are seeing just a little bit of red on the hourly. We've got Bitcoin up 3.1% on the daily, down 0.2 on the hourly, up 3.3% on Ethereum, XRP sitting up 2.7. We've got BNB up 1.9. Solana up 4.4. I know JR was talking about his Solana long just a few minutes ago. If you're missing out on his channel, I will drop that link in here so you can check him on out. He's starting to stream. Looks like he's going to be doing that about 3 times a day. So get over there, give him a subscribe. We've got Tron sitting up 0.5%. Dogecoin up 3%. We've got Cardano up 3.9% after finding some support at a level we were calling out last week. Bitcoin Cash up 2.6%. Chainlink up 0.9%. We've got Leo token up 1.3%. Not too unexpected, as we are starting to see just a little bit of red in the hourly. We've got Hyperliquid up 2.9%. Also seeing some green on the hourly. We might have to check that one out. We've got Stellar Lumens up 1.5%, Litecoin up 2.1%, and we've got Shui fallen a spot in the market cap, sitting up 3.4%, and we've got Avalanche and HBAR really struggling to maintain in that top 20. Hopping over to the Fear and Greeds. Still looking a little fearful over on the stock side, and not too unexpected, we are back in extreme fear after a little bit of a sideways weekend and some pumping at the beginning of that Asia session. So we'll kind of have to see if we can find some support here, really maintain our sideways momentum that we've been calling out since we dropped to that fair value gap. Let's hop on over to that liquidation heat map, because we do have quite a bit of liquidity to keep our eye on. Let's get that moved on down to the area we like it. We've got quite a bit of liquidity directly above us. Not too unexpected. This was our halting point. From back here, we've got quite a bit of liquidity ranging all the way up to $93,000. We'll have to see if we can get up there and grab some of that. We are starting to look a little bit toppy and on a few different time frames, but we'll have to see if we can get some liquidity coming on in, buying up Bitcoin in that New York AM session. Zooming on out, taking a look at this 3-day. We don't have quite the liquidity we were looking at last week. We were looking at quite a bit of bottom side liquidity. You've got to zoom this on out just a little bit further here to really get that downside look. 3-day still has that liquidity directly towards the upside, which is not too unexpected. Once you make those highs, you build up a little bit of liquidity above it where you see some people start shorting. Once you zoom this on out just a little bit further here, if this 2-week will load just a little bit quicker, you've got quite a bit still towards the upside to really keep your eye on. We will kind of see if we just continue with the sideways momentum we've been making, or if we can get a little bit of deviations, grab some of the top side liquidity and grab some of the downside liquidity as well. This is just under $95,000. We've got that ranging all the way to $94,200. Zooming this on out, taking a look at that. No, not the 3-month. Wrong button. We've got this 1 month also showing quite a bit of liquidity here. I guess it's a little less hot than it was before, but we've got quite a bit of liquidity directly underneath us as well. This is around 73,800. We will kind of have to see if we just maintain the sideways that we've been doing, or if we get some deviations, really grab up top side, grab up bottom side. I would look at grabbing bottom side first so you can grab the top side with a bigger movement towards the upside and then really continue that downside movement. Let's get this on over to the economic calendar. We don't have a lot to talk about today. We just have some bill auctions coming out this afternoon. Scrolling on down just a little bit, we will have some data to keep our eye on. We've got JOLTS jobs opening tomorrow. That's going to be at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So some very, very heavy data that will be extremely important to the Fed, which we'll be talking about in just a second when we get over to our news articles. That'll be that first piece of data we really need to get for the Fed to kind of have a direction, not for this month, but for our next rate decision in 2026. So big news article on all of that. We will scroll on down just a little bit further because we do have some other things to kind of keep our eye on this week, especially since we're getting that rate decision next week. We will be getting, this week, that was my bad, federal interest rate decision this week. So that jobs data will be extremely important for Wednesday. So federal interest rate decision on Wednesday. That'll be extremely important data to kind of keep your eye on. Kind of gonna wait to see if we also get the rest of our data, because we were supposed to get some inflation data coming out this day as well from prior months. That didn't get dropped, so keep your eye on that as well. I do think it's right around the same time as they're making their decision. So we are in quite a bit of a weird area in that news article. In just a second, we'll get to that information. But here on the daily time frame, we're looking extremely sideways on our oscillators, and we will break that on down in just a second. We've got several people here in the chats this morning. We got a viewer over on X as well. Thank you for tuning on in today. We got Offshore Miner. We've got Rug Pullin' Rabbit, aka Jay. We've got Curtis Hill in the house. Good morning, good morning. We've got Loco for Crypto, aka Donato Cabrera in the house. Good morning, good morning. We've got Redman in here. Let's see who else we got. Scrolling on down, we got JR in the house. I dropped his channel up in the chat, so go ahead, check him on out. Give him a subscribe. We've got Stefan Farmer in here. Good morning, good morning. We've got Ada Ace as well. Thank you, everyone, for tuning on in. If you've got any requests you'd like me to take a look at here in a little bit, go ahead, drop them in the chat. And after we get through those news articles, we can start taking a look at some TA requests. We've got plenty of sideways momentum here on the daily. As you can see, this MACD is running quite sideways here. It is getting a little bit of some curvature back towards the upside, but we will have to see if this money flow really continues to come on out. We're going to get that curvature back towards the downside and really just maintain this sideways momentum here. We have seen resistance back up at the top side of that fair value gap. That was an area we were calling on out for a potential resistance area. We still are making higher lows, but looking like we might have failed to make a higher high. Not too unexpected. If you've been paying attention here, we've been talking about some sideways momentum, especially until like the rest of the year. So we've seen this before. Plenty of weeks of sideways momentum when Bitcoin's really trying to figure out if it's going to get that next little move towards the upside to grab up liquidity, or if we're just going to get that nice little sideways momentum and then continue on towards the downside. So this is that little accumulation or distribution phase. So zooming this on in, taking a look at that 4 hour, because this 4 hour does tell us a little bit of a story as well. We're looking just a little bit toppy. We're starting to see just a little bit of sideways momentum coming in on that MACD after we really failed to get above the top side of that fair value gap on a higher term time frame. We've got a little bit of sideways momentum coming in on that prime oscillator as well as we started to lose some of that buying pressure. Our volume is starting to pick back up, but we've got plenty of resistance that has shown us on this higher term time frame. We were looking for that to come in as some resistance, and pretty much as soon as we started getting closer to that area, we started losing our buying pressure. So we'll kind of have to keep our eye on that. We've got plenty of areas to find some support at on the shorter term time frames. We will kind of have to see if we get that bouncing at 90,200. That is the midline of that fair value gap. Or if we're going to take this all the way back down. We've got plenty of areas in the meantime to see some bouncing on the way there. We've got that 88,600, which is the bottom side of that fair value gap. And then we've got the 382 as well. That's way down here at 84,100. We'll have to keep our eyes on all those levels. We are looking just a little bit toppy here on the 4. And that daily was starting to see quite a bit of sideways momentum. Taking a look at this 1 hour here, 1 hour also looking extremely toppy. Getting that roll over here on our MACD, really lost those candles on the histogram. Starting to make our way back towards the downside here. Prime oscillator already sitting in the red, getting that rollover, and you're seeing that lack of buying pressure continue after we got to the top of that fair value gap. We did try to grab up just a little bit of liquidity, but we failed to grab the rest of that. Really shows you, if we continue with this downside momentum, that we're going to keep on with this movement we've been making here, leave liquidity towards the top side to have us grab back up after we grab liquidity towards the downside. Normally how things get played out when you have a sideways momentum here, you've got lower highs, make your way back down, you make some higher lows, make your way back up. We will kind of just keep our eye on this. 93,800 seems to be our very strong top side, and that 382 down here at 83,900 seems to be that strong bottom. So let's get our view of the morning and that 15 minute also looking quite toppy here. Jay saying sound gone. It's reading on my end. Y'all let me know if you still here or if the sound's gone there. 15 minute in the morning also looking quite toppy after that nice strong push towards the upside there. Sounds good for everyone else. Maybe refresh on that, Jay. So we did see that toppiness back up at the top of that fair value gap, getting a little bit of curvature back towards the downside here on the 15 minute, both on that MACD and prime oscillator. We are seeing just a little bit of some green money flow here, but we will kind of have to keep our eye on some areas down here at about 91.5. That'd be that secondary break of a low, and then you could really see that stronger movement down. We do have our VWAP also coming in right at that same area. That's about 91,400. Keep your eye on that. Could see a little bit of bouncing in that area as well as we continue our move towards the downside. I know me and JR were both talking about shorts this morning. I got in way up here, took a little bit of profits once we broke that low, and then we will kind of have to see if we make our way back to that VWAP there. If you got any alt requests for the day, go ahead, drop them in there. We can take a look at some stocks as well. I did have a few that I wanted to go over, but let's get over to these news articles first, because we got quite a bit to talk about here. We had Macron going over to China, and no surprise, afterwards started talking about some tariffs. Which, you know, the world is extremely dependent on China for not only its manufactured goods, but for a lot of minerals as well. And Trump has really been hounding that train, getting us away from China. And it seems like he's now not the only one. Macron returns from a state visit to China and immediately threatens Trump-like sanctions. Fresh off a state visit to China, French President Emmanuel Macron returned home and immediately warned that the European Union may follow Washington's lead and hit Beijing with sanctions if Beijing fails to address the widening trade imbalances. Macron warned that the European Union may be forced to take strong measures and added the issue is a question of life or death for European industry. He also emphasized the need for Europe to become more competitive and for the European Central Bank to take growth and jobs into account in its monetary policy. You know, we've talked quite a bit here about what is going on with the EU and their central bank's decisions. They're ahead of us in their cycle. So their inflation was already starting to tick back up. They were already seeing that lack of jobs, the jobs market being extremely weak and continuing to weaken. And that's what we started to see here. And now they're a little bit behind the ball of trying to fix that. But this might be a step in the right direction. Really reshore some manufacturing practices, bring jobs back home instead of exporting their jobs. It is a long process, but if you want to have an economy, you also have to have people working. So we will kind of have to see how this all plays out, if they're going to do the same thing as us in the US, or if they're just going to keep doing what the EU does. I'm trying to explain to the Chinese that their trade surplus isn't sustainable because they're killing their own clients, notably by importing hardly anything from us anymore. Macron told Les Echos newspaper in an interview on December 7th. If they don't react in the coming months, we Europeans will be obliged to take strong measures and decouple, like the US, like, for example, tariffs on Chinese products, he said, adding that he had discussed the matter with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen with Bloomberg reports. So we'll kind of have to see how this all goes, but you know, that would really open the door to the West becoming better partners with the West. And it's kind of important if we want to continue to see our thriving economies really maintain up top, or if we don't play that game, we start to see China really take a main stage in the economy. Getting on over here, Jerome Powell faces a credible issue as he tries to satisfy both hawks and doves on the most divided Fed in recent memory. And this hasn't happened for years. We're talking about COVID was the last time it happened, and before that, getting all the way back to like 2009, 2010, after we went through the recession in '08. So getting on into this one, with the Federal Reserve split between increasingly hawkish and increasingly dovish policymakers, Chairman Jerome Powell is due to perform some serious log rolling when the central bank meets this week. Another rate cut is near certainty after the Fed meeting ends on Wednesday, but the main question is what Powell will say about the prospects for more easing next month. Wall Street expects a hawkish cut, meaning Powell is likely to avoid signaling a January cut to appease Fed hawks after joining doves to lower rates this month. Chair Jerome Powell is facing the most divided committee in recent memory, analyst of Bank of America said in a note on Friday. Therefore, we think he will attempt to balance the expected rate cut with a hawkish stance at the press conference, just as he did in October. But at the same time, the Fed chair has also been insistent that policymakers are not on the predetermined course and that rate moves depend on the data that comes in. As a result, the Bank of America is doubtful that he can pull off a hawkish cut so easily, considering all the market moving data that will come out between the two meetings with some delay due to the government shutdown. Like I was talking about, we will get some inflation data here this week, not only for this prior month, but the month that we were also shut down. So that'll kind of add a little bit of some iffiness going into our next rate decision. So we will kind of have to keep our eye on this. Jobs data is that big part of the information that is causing them to cut. But on the other side of things, we're sitting at 3% on inflation. And when you start cutting, when inflation is 3%, you're really, really risking more bad than good. And that is another thing that this article gets into. Another option that is to argue that 3.5 to 3.7%, where the benchmark rates would be if the Fed cuts again this week, isn't restrictive after accounting for inflation, meaning the central bank is no longer weighing on the economy as much. Similarly, JP Morgan chief U.S. economist Michael Farrelly said that he expects Powell to stress after this week's cut rates will be close to neutral, so any additional easing would depend on meaningful deterioration in the labor market and not be predicted in risk management, especially with inflation at 3%. We'll kind of have to see, because if you start cutting those rates and then we get QE instead of just taken off quantitative tightening, then you could start to see some of this start to flow back into the economy. We will kind of have to keep our eyes on this, but Japan already starting QE, and they are also ahead of us in the rate cutting cycles. They were ahead of us to kind of ease off after COVID as well. We'll kind of have to keep our eyes on this. I did have another thing to kind of talk about. You know, I've talked about Uber before, and that's because of Serve Robotics. Serve Robotics is a big part in this industry here, not just for the robo-taxis, but also for deliveries. They've got a big partnership with Uber Eats and also with a few other delivery services. But Uber here is launching a robo-taxi service in Dallas. We've already seen how this kind of plays out with Tesla. We will see if Uber does any better, because the next part after that is getting deliveries done without humans. So we'll kind of have to watch as this unfolds. Uber is turning Dallas into its latest proving ground for autonomous ride hailing, giving riders the option to request a robot-driven trip through the same app they already use to call a human driver. The company is rolling out the service in partnership with Avaride, positioning the city as a test bed for how driverless technology could fit into the everyday urban transportation. We will follow this as it goes on. You know, this will be coming out here, that I believe they said at the end of the month. So keep your eye on this one. Maybe they'll be a little more successful than Tesla was with some robo taxis, but a lot of money to be made in this sector as you see things go more autonomous and less people involved in that system. Let's see. We got Chadwick in the house. Good morning. Good morning. What is the 4-hour money flow looking like on BTC? Well, we just talked about that. Let's get that chart pulled back up, and then we'll dive into a few of those other things we were taking a look at this morning. But zooming this on out, 15-minute money flow looking just a little bit green, but this 4-hour, as we were talking about earlier, looking really, really iffy here. Let's get this pulled on up so you can see it. We're getting just a little bit of a pull back towards the upside. Oh, there we go. Pull back towards the upside, but doing so with a little bit of sideways momentum there. So I would expect a nice little rollover to really continue, especially if we're going to continue to get that pullback on the shorter term time frames, really get that nice rejection off the top side of this old fair value gap we were keeping our eye on for a resistance area. That was at $92,000 being that nice little point. That's pretty much right on where I put my short this morning as well. I was a little bit higher than that, but I already took a little bit of profits. We'll kind of have to see if we continue to get that move towards the downside. We're looking at 91,400 to be a potential little bouncing area this morning. to see if we get that continuation down towards our midline of that fair value gap. Which money flow indicator is that? That is the prime oscillator. This has 7 indicators in one. We've got your money flow here. You've got your smooth RSI here, and you've got your volume, and then we've got the true 7 in here as well. I'm not sure why that's not showing though. I'll have to get that fixed unless unless with the update they got rid of the true 7. So let's see. Oh, there we go. The true 7 was turned off when they updated it. There we go. So the true 7 has 7 indicators in one, and as you're seeing, it's also looking just a little bit toppy. We got a little bit of sideways momentum coming on in there, but Chart Prime Oscillator, it is a great tool for a replacement of the smooth RSI. Gives you a lot of information all at once there. It is what replaced my smooth RSI indicator, because that's what I used to use. I used to use the smooth RSI, the MACD, and that Prime Oscillator Pro really swapped out with that one. So we did have a few things that we wanted to take a look at this morning. Let's see. Wick, if you're an early bird, I stream an hour before BC. Oh, yep, that link is up top. So let's see. We got any alt requests this morning? Nope, it's the best one. It's the best one. They have it. But let's see. Did I see any alt requests? We got all set in the house. Good morning. Good morning. Let's scroll on up. Not seeing any alt request or any other TA request. So go ahead, drop some in there so we can take a look at what you're looking at, see if we are all of the same consensus here. But we did want to take a look at gold. As we were talking about last week, gold was needing to hold some levels. We did start to see just a little bit of toppiness here on the daily time frame after we really failed to hold some upper levels there. We were looking at 4,244, really failed to hold that on the higher term time frame. Got that immediate sell-off, a pullback towards our old fair value top, and then got a little bit of some bouncing action. We're above that $4,205 point again. We'll have to see if we can turn this back into some support and then really continue on towards the upside. We are seeing just a little bit of toppiness here on the higher term time frame here on the daily, but your money flow still maintaining in the green as you are getting just a little bit of some rollover on that prime oscillator. MACD also seeing just a little bit of rollover. We'll kind of have to see if we continue to get some money flow coming on in to really give you that nice little bit of curvature back towards the upside here. And we do have that ability to get some sell off. We will kind of have to keep our eye on that shorter term time frame here, because that 4 hour was looking nice and cooled off with a little bit of sideways momentum here. We're still trying to maintain with some higher lows, but we're at a really weird point here. You've got a nice little constriction of our price action here. We'll kind of have to see with that money flow starting to lack on the daily, if you get that break towards the downside, really confirm a higher low on our more macro here, and that would give you a nice little bouncing down here at about $4,100 to about 4,140. So nice little window here. That's the bottom side of that fair value gap to the one line on our fib extensions. We'll kind of have to see if we get that break towards the downside, which I kind of am looking at with how we've started to lose some money flow on the daily. We've done this now a few times. We've got that nice little sideways momentum. We do break towards the upside, sideways momentum, break towards the upside, and then really seeing some sideways momentum here. But we haven't got the sell-offs here that we got here and here. So kind of keeping my eye on that. A little bit of a potential for some break towards the downside unless we start to see some change in the money flow on the higher term time frames there. So let's get this zoomed on in. Take a look at that 15-minute in the morning. 15-minute in the morning has been running pretty sideways here, really failing to get above $4,219. But we've got some nice support down here at our fair value gap top. We are starting to see some green money flow coming on in. We will kind of have to keep our eye on that this morning, as you do continue to see 4,219 be our resistance. Have that potential for that strong rollover back down here to really cool things off just a little bit more. 15-minute really getting that green money flow, but starting to see that sideways momentum coming in already. We would need a strong boost in the money flow to really get us above that 4,219 area, and then continue on towards the upside from that. But we had a few other things to go over as well. I got a few alt requests now. We had Solana, we got Link, we got Aster, we got ADA as well. ADA was one we talked about earlier. Let's get Aster on there as well. See what's going on. Blood diamonds green, blood diamonds yellow. You're talking about the oscillator there. We got Dusty Hunt in the house. Good morning, good morning. Yeah, that's the new update, Ada Ace. BC might have to update his, or has them turned off. Oh, no, so I updated that. I updated it. It doesn't always show on some of these more traditional market stuff. It does show a lot on the crypto side. So as you see here, here's the diamonds on the 4-hour. Here on Bitcoin, but for some of those traditional markets, it doesn't really show up as much. So you do have it where, nope, not even here on gold. So like I said, it just depends on the market. So you do have it on some of the higher term time frames though. Zooming on out, where was it? I guess not even here on the 4-hour either. I guess it didn't update on this one. Oh, well, that might be why then. Update. I'll get it later. Oh, well. Okay. We did want to take a look at OKLO. We were talking about some upside price action, and we got that nice little upside back to our CME gap. That is our resistance area. We did talk about the potential pullback after that move towards the upside there. We were looking to break back down just a little bit here before we tried to regather our strength as we continue to see our green money flow here on the higher term time frame. You're getting that curvature back towards the upside here on the prime oscillator, starting to see just a little bit of sideways momentum on that MACD. Pre-markets opening up at pretty much close to our support area we were looking at. This is now a resistance area to kind of keep your eye on. 108.38. That pre-market has done battle with that now a few times this morning, and we'll have to see if in the market open we really start to see that movement back towards the upside there. You have plenty of resistance above us at the CME gap as well. But your money flow on that shorter term time frame is starting to look pretty nice. You are getting just a little bit of sideways momentum coming on in on the hourly after that nice little cool off here. We do have that CME gap to kind of keep your eye on the smaller CME gap. That is pretty much from that big CME gap, that big old CME gap bottom towards our 50% line here on the fib retracements. We did see that come in as a little bit of resistance once we drop below it, but in that pre-market opening directly towards the upside of it, failing to get above that 108.94, seeing just a little bit of a bounce back down would not be too unexpected. Give you that better cool off to try to get that move back towards our old CME gap up there. Taking a look at the 15-minute here, 15-minute also seeing that nice green money flow that we were talking about. We'll kind of have to see if market open really gives you that continuation there. That would be a little bit of sideways momentum, cool off the oscillator. As you can see, that MACD is below our zero line here. pre-market opening up towards the upside would really give you that curvature back towards the upside. Same with that prime oscillator. We'll just have to keep our eye on that money flow. Volume is a little bit low, not too unexpected with a Friday close, but you've seen this before. As you saw back here, we got that nice little sideways momentum, lack of volume, little push back up, lack of volume, and then a pushing back up with some strength there as you increase that volume. So pre-market kind of showing some signs that you might get a little bit of continuation. We will have to see if we get back towards that CME gap, $111, and actually turn that into some support coming in at pre-market at that market open. Damn, 117 month for that indicator. We've also got a deal going on here. Let's see. If you take a look, chart prime, we've got a 45% off on that. So let me get that shared with you. That is in our description. You got, looks like it's too long there. Hold on. I will get that shared in just a second. Links. There we go. And here you go. No mention of night. What is night, Ada Ace? You might have to do some teaching. We'll have to bring you back on here soon. So we've got SMR. That was that other one that we were wanting to take a look at. As you saw, we got a little bit of a pushback down towards our 236 on our fib extensions. We were talking about potentially seeing some resistance at the 382 here. We did come up above our 2262, which was our resistance from back here. Really failed to hold that. Got that pushback towards our 236. Started to see a little bit of sideways momentum the same way that we did on OKLO. And then we're seeing that pre-market opening up above our sideways momentum. We will kind of have to see if we can get some continuation, because that daily is looking extremely nice here. Let's get that zoomed on out just a little bit. As you can see, we're getting that break above what was resistance. Really failing to see us holding that 236 there as we try to gather just a little bit of momentum. We've got the red money flow here on the daily, so we're really waiting for some money flow to start coming back in here. You've got that prime oscillator pointing back towards the upside. Same with that MACD, but we've got just a little bit of sideways momentum coming in on that MACD. So we do need some money flow to really come back in with some strength. Oh my God, y'all left that on the table. What? Oh, Ada, you know, you talk about a lot whenever you come on the streams. So sometimes, you know, you just gotta choose one thing and then go over the one thing, so I can retain some of it instead of trying to retain 5 projects at once where you're talking about a whole bunch. Because then I pick up just a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and we'll get you back on here to talk about it though. So hourly is getting a little bit of a break towards the downside there. You see that indicator line or you see that MACD line below our indicator line, really starting to see a little bit of sideways momentum there. Not too unexpected after we held the 236. You've got your green money flow here on the hourly. Really, we're waiting for that nice little cool off, seeing that pre-market open back up. We really want to see that move above a 2262. Hold that as some support to get back to $24. That is the 382 there. I would expect to see just a little bit of resistance at that point before we try to make our way back up towards this old CME gap from way back here. That is going to be 25.34 coming in at that downside. So we'll kind of have to see how far we can get towards the upside here. We've seen this over and over again on the nuclear stocks. you get those strong moves towards the upside. You got to find that resistance area where you really see the strength coming on in on the higher term time frame. So I would expect things to go a little bit higher there. We've got that golden pocket really being that next area to keep your eye on, and that is 27.17. We'll kind of have to see if we get that continuation through all of this. I do expect some resistance on the shorter term time frame though. Keeping our eye on the 15-minute in the morning. We've got that nice green money flow on SMR as well. We did see that sideways momentum coming in after that little bit of some cool off, and we're really seeing that pre-market get a little bit of an open towards the upside. We'll see if that gives us that curvature back towards the upside here on both that MACD and prime oscillator. Nuclear stocks are starting to get that push back towards the upside, not just for those, but pretty much across the board. Let's get on over to some of those nuclear stocks. We had CCJ that we were calling out last week. We wanted to see us hold the bottom side of this CME gap. Did so with some strength, got that move back towards the midline here, and then we really dropped below our golden pocket fib extension there. We will kind of have to see if we make another higher low here. Would look for a retest of our highs back at about 89.73. Pre-market really failing to do any reclaim of our golden pocket there. So CCJ, also one of those nuclear stocks we've been keeping our eye on. ORA was another one. Got that same little push towards the upside. Seeing a little bit of sideways momentum coming in above our 236 there. So nice little move towards the upside. We're really failing to get above some of those all-time highs here on ORA, but maintaining that trend. So a little bit of consolidation here. We'll kind of have to see if we can get that break towards the upside. Pre-market here opening up pretty much where we closed. So across the board, nuclear starting to look a little nice again. We'll kind of have to see if some of the buying that we were calling out here on like OKLO and SMR was the nice little point to hit, because I did some buying down here at about $17 on SMR. I did some buying down at $90 here on OKLO. So really looking for that break of trend here. We've got Trade Intuition in the house. Good morning to you, sir. If you're not following Trade Intuition, you definitely should be. Let's get that link shared on out. And then we will get over to some of those alt requests we had, because we had a few of them to take a look at. ADA was that first one we were going to take a look at. We were calling that one out last week. Let's get over to the 4 hour. As you can see, we had a few levels to keep our eye on. 45 cents was that first area to kind of keep our eye on. That is where we were potentially looking for some resistance. We got that resistance there, got that pullback to 41.5 cents. That was an area we were potentially looking for some bouncing at. And then we're really failing to get any kind of continuation here. You've got a little bit of resistance directly above us at about 43-ish cents. 43.5 is what it's looking like. And we're really seeing that secondary rejection there. You are seeing just a little bit of sideways momentum coming in on that MACD. Same with that prime oscillator. And that prime oscillator's looking pretty toppy here. Lol, I was thinking the same thing. I was updating my group this morning. Love it when the plan comes together. What was that one about? Let's see. Oh, I did hear that briefly now that you mention it. Oh, you're talking about ADA. So ADA and some updates. You know, I don't pay much attention to ADA. I'm sorry, ADA Ace, but you know, that's what you're here for. So you give us the updates so that we're informed, and I'll focus on Bitcoin and a bunch of my stocks, and then together we'll make an amazing team. So let's get this zoomed on in. Take a look at the hourly. The hourly also looking extremely toppy here on ADA. You've got a bearish divergence as well, getting that stronger rollover on that prime oscillator, and MACD really starting to lose those candles on the histogram. But you've got some nice support directly below us to kind of keep your eye on. That is that 41.5 cent point. We'll kind of have to see if we get some more bouncing there, or if we're really going to continue all the way back down towards the bottom. We called out some levels on Bitcoin towards the bottom, and if we're going to make those moves on Bitcoin, I would expect to see the same kind of moves here on ADA. So 36 cents being that real point where we see our bottoming action here. If we're going to make our way down on Bitcoin, I would expect to make our way all the way down there as well on ADA. We'll kind of have to see if we get that bouncing here at 41.5 cents, or if Bitcoin's going to get that nice strong continuation back towards the midline. Kind of same kind of moves there. So keep your eye on Bitcoin, keep your eye on that money flow this morning. We've got quite a bit of downside potential here. Zooming on in, taking a look at that 15-minute and the morning here, we are seeing a little bit of cool off. So I would expect for a little bit of a pushback towards the upside. Really see if you get that triple top in action there. As we said, 43.5 cents being that strong resistance area, we've really failed to get above. Could get that nice little secondary drive up towards it before you really continue towards the downside with some strength there. We are starting to see that look just a little bit bottomed, but if your money flow does continue in the red here, you could really continue with some strong movements towards the downside. We've got Mark Dutch in the house. Good morning to you. Hope you're having a great day. If you've got those Bitcoin clog emojis, go ahead and drop them in there. We've got Lunar Beaches Crypto in the house. If you've got those emojis for him, go ahead and drop them in there as well. Let's see. Let's get over to some of those other alt requests. That was ADA for you. Let's see how terrible Link is doing. We haven't taken a look at Link in a long time. Dang. Dude, super far off from all those targets we like to joke about. But let's get this zoomed on out. Take a look at 4 hour. Pretty much hitting on some levels we were taking a look at, seeing a little bit of some constriction here. We had a few levels to really keep our eyes out. That was $14.12. We did get a little bit of a deviation above that. I would expect that to be that grab of liquidity, but that higher term time frame candle really closing below that 14.12. We'll kind of have to see if we can get some bouncing at 13.82. If you don't get any bouncing there, because with the way that MACD and prime oscillator are starting to look, you're getting that curvature back towards the downside underneath our indicator line here, really printing those light red candles here. We'll kind of have to keep our eye on that money flow. If that money flow continues to come on out on the shorter term time frames, I would expect that harsher rollover here, get that curvature back down. MACD or prime oscillator coming in with a little bit of sideways momentum too. So we'll have to see on the shorter term time frame if we get just a little bit of bouncing here on 13.82, or if we're really going to see those div extremely hard here. As you see, you've got those double bearish divergences, getting that rollover of the prime oscillator, getting the rollover of the MACD as well. We'll kind of have to see if we find that support down here at 13.57, if we break below 13.82, or if we're really going to get that stronger move down to $13.22. We've got several levels down here to kind of keep your eye on. First one being at 13.57 if you break below 13.82. If not, you could really just see that continued sideways momentum like we did over here between $14.12 and $13.82. But if Bitcoin's going to make those strong moves to the downside we were talking about, this one would probably make those similar moves, and 13.57 would be that nice little point to kind of keep your eye on there. 15-minute also looking just a little bit bottomed like we were talking about on ADA, potential to see that nice little push back towards the upside. Same with that MACD here. You got a little bit of a reversal signal starting to flash, but you've got that resistance directly above us. First little level to kind of keep your eye on here, gonna be a $14, 14.5, 14.5, 14.1. Oh, what did that just do? Link. There we go. $14 and about 5 cents there. We'll kind of have to see if on the shorter term time frame that comes in as some resistance. We are still making some higher lows here, so keep your eye on that. But we're really seeing that strong resistance at $14.12. So that'd be that next little area to keep your eye on for the upside for a harsher rejection down. Let's get on over to Solana, see what's going on with that. I know we called out a few levels last week, and we got some strong moves back towards the upside there. We're really trying to hold 137.12 as our support here. Let's get this zoomed on out. Take a look at the 4 hour, see what's going on. As you can see, this range here for Solana is a little bit bigger. We do have our golden pocket coming in as our nice support, and we've really got some resistance up at 147.90. So we are trying to make those higher lows here, but you're really failing to make some higher highs. So you do have a little bit of an uptrend, but it's not too strong. We'll kind of have to see how long we continue this. We have been getting some nice little stronger bounces towards the downside. This time we bounced off of that 130 area, really doing some testing on 137. You've got a little bit of continuation going on here with that MACD breaking above our indicator line. About to break above our zero line here, but your money flow is the big issue. Same with as on Bitcoin on that 4 hour, you're seeing that red money flow. Really trying to do some testing on 137, but if you start to lose that, could really see that roll over here. You're seeing a little bit of sideways momentum on that MACD as well, and this 1 hour really tells the story. You're getting that rollover of your MACD, prime oscillator also getting that rollover, and like I said, we will have to watch the money flow. Well, what's the big brain stuff, BC? Big brain stuff on what? So you're gonna have to be a little more specific. I've been doing a bunch this morning, so but we've got Solana getting a little bit of rollover on that money flow. We'll kind of have to see if we really start shedding that buying, because if we do start shedding that money flow with some strength, you've got a few levels towards the downside to keep your eye on. That first one being 133.40. We've seen that come in as some resistance before. Really haven't got a touch of support on that yet. So as you can see, every single time we've pretty much just moved through it. We've got that nice little drop below. We've got some movements towards the upside through it. The only time we really tested on it was way back here when we saw it come in as some resistance, and then we turned it into some support. So we'll kind of have to see if we can find that as some support here all over again. Any funny fundamental alpha? Not for today, but we will drop some stuff into Discord a little bit later, because again, I'm off work, so I'm gonna have a lot of fun today doing some extremely nerdy stuff. So keep your eye on the Piper Academy Discord, and I'll drop it over in your Discord too, LBC. So if you're not in LBC's Discord, you're also missing out. It's a free Discord, and it's a lot of fun. Go over and check his channel out. I'm pretty sure that link is over there. Let me get that copied and pasted. What's going on with Ondo? Well, we can take a quick look at Ondo as well. This 1 hour, like we said, was looking a little bit toppy here on Solana, but like the rest of everything, 15-minute looking like it could get a little bit of a break towards the upside. We'll have to see if we can really get above our local resistance, coming in at 138.95. I would expect a harsher rejection at that point with how the higher time frames are looking. You are seeing that break below our indicator line here on the MACD, you're really pointing towards the downside here, but your one holdup is going to be your money flow on the shorter term time frame. So we'll see if we get a little bit of some bouncing off of our support here, really get that push back up towards our stronger resistance, and then continue on towards the downside there. Ondo, let's take a quick look at Ondo, and then let me see, did Alex set up his stream already? There we go. Got that redirect all set up for Alex. So let's get a quick look at Ondo, and then we'll send y'all over there with a little bit of music to wind the show on down with. So Ondo, here it is down here. Let's get this zoomed on out. Looking pretty similar to everything else. Getting some sideways momentum. Break below our fib retracements. Ondo at some extreme lows here. We'll kind of have to pull up a new fib and see what's going on. Let's get this from the highs to our lows there. Highs to our lows below the 236 as well. That's kind of ugly. Let's get a shorter term time frame one, see what's going on from our last high to our lows here. 236 is resistance there as well. Jesus, Ondo's just beat up. And everyone was talking super big about Ondo. Aerodrome on the daily looks juicy. We'll take a quick look at Aerodrome, and then we'll send everyone over to Alex. So appreciate you showing on up, Alex. I've got that redirect set on up. If you got those orders, go ahead, drop them in the chat. Ondo extremely battered down on the daily, hourly. Got that push up towards the 236. Really saw that resistance coming on in. Starting to look a little bit toppy here. We'll have to see if on the shorter term time frame it shows a little bit of a bounce potential like the rest of the market. It does have a little bit of a bounce potential, but the money flow is going to be your big issue here, especially as you got some resistance at that 236. So could expect to see that push back up towards that 50-cent price point, and then a harsher rejection towards the downside. Let's see, Aerodrome, AERO. Let's see what's going on with that one. You said the daily. It's been a while since I looked at this one. Below the 236 there, that is a macro fib retracement. Let's get rid of some of those lines. They're old lines. That was resistance for a while, and then this was a few areas we were looking for some support at. Did not find those, but you did get some nice cool off here on the higher term time frame. Would like to see us break above 74 and about a half to get that stronger move towards the upside. Daily getting some nice curvature above that indicator line. Prime oscillator switching from red to green here, and your money flow starting to come back in as well. As you can see, money flow coming back in. We'll have to see how high this one can get if it does get some push back towards the upside. What's wrong with Ondo? It's an alt, basically. That's basically how I feel about most of the alt market, though. So let's see what's going on the 1 hour here. 1 hour seeing a little bit of toppiness, so could see a little bit of some pullback. Can really see that nice strong support at 64. That'd be a nice little launch off point if we continue to hold that one. Is getting a little bit of rollover on both of those. So keep your eye a little bit lower, and then watch for that break at about 74, because you're breaking 74 on the higher term time frame. You got a lot of upside potential. You'd have to also really get above 87 as well. That's that next local resistance area. But then you've got plenty of room towards the upside there. So 50% is the next real strong resistance area above that. So a lot of upside potential if you can start to break 74. So that's what I got for today. It is time to wind the show on down. We've got 2 other shows we do daily here on the Piper Academy. We've got the morning market report at 10 a.m. Eastern time and trading with OC at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Elephant in the house. What time is the stream? My stream, I have pushed it back just a little bit. I go live at 7 a.m. Eastern. So, not working for now as it is winter, so I get a little more opportunities to really push back that stream. I've got the redirect all set up to go to Alex O Crypto, and I will see y'all in just a second in the chats over there. Make sure to wake up because today's going to be a good day.